Welcome to the Campus Outreach Staffcast, a podcast produced by CO staff for CO staff. I am your host, John Elam, and with me is the Campus Outreach Serve Executive Director, Kent Bailey. Kent, it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Good to be with you today, John, and with our special guests.
Great. We are excited to have Nai and Bla on the Staffcast today. Kent, would you please introduce them to the Staffcast listeners?
That is a privilege. One of my hopes for the Staffcast has been that amazing people around the world who are serving with Campus Outreach, who do not get to meet other amazing people around the world, would have the opportunity to do that through the Staffcast, getting to hear their story. And so there are people in South America who've never been to Asia. There are people in Europe who've never been to Africa, and so forth. And so that we get to share these stories is just incredible. So Nai and Bla, it is a privilege for us to have you on the Staffcast today. I've been personally looking forward to this a lot because I love you guys so much, respect you so much, have just admired you for so long. And so that we get to share your story today with so many is just a great privilege. So thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, we are so excited and I'm glad to be here with you.
Yes. Well, I just want to acknowledge up front that they're here and actually in the room with us, which is even more special because they're on a trip here to the U.S., which is great. They spend all of their time in Thailand, and English is a second language. And so thank you for even being willing to do this in English, and we want to be considerate of that as we go through our time today. So we would love to hear from each of you, your testimony, your story of faith. We just love to do that to get to know one another better. So if you each could share that story, and I'm sure there probably are some parts of the story that cross over and you have in common, that would be great as well.
Maybe Bla can start first.
That would be great. We would love that.
Lady first, right?
Yeah.
Sweet
right,
man,
that's right,
sweet
yeah.
man. Well, I became a believer through Campus Outreach when I was a freshman. I am one typical Chinese girl who had never heard about the gospel before, never encountered with any Christians or Christianity. So my first year in college, I met a group of CO staff people in the CCP.
In Bangkok.
In Bangkok, 1994,
Yes.
back then.
Yes.
And, their lives are just different, but for me, growing up in Chinese culture, worshiping the spirits of ancestors and truly believe in good deeds and, like your self-effort, like you need to try hard to get what you want, try even harder to be better, so that was kind of like my motto, my life, what I was taught and want to live for, So encountering the Christian world was very interesting to me because it seems like that's not what they live for. The word grace and love were just so new to me. And especially Jesus Christ died for me. It was never a concept because why would that happen? Why would he do that? But just hearing the gospel and seeing Christians, they kept loving on me, kept caring for me. And I remember having this conversation with a CCP girl. Before she came to Thailand, she just had gone through like a family hardship. Like her mom and her dad, they were not in a good place. But she came to Thailand and she can still love on me. Wow. And that was a big shock for me. Like, how can you do that? And then I remember she told me she believes that God has a good plan for me. And she shared Jeremiah 29:11 with me. And I was like, what? Seriously? I was like, what? I had never heard about, anything like that before. So that was the first time that I started to feel like, oh, what is this all about? What is Christianity? What is this all about? So I went to the evangelistic retreat. I watched Jesus' film. I heard more about Jesus, who he is. And I know I do not have to second guess if I was a sinner or not. Back then, I knew I was going to hell, but I didn't really care, But hearing the good news that I do not have to go to where I thought I had to, and to have a promise of this hopeful life, So God just opened my eyes and I prayed to receive Christ. And, like I was ready. I wanted him to change my life. I want to go to heaven. Yeah. And a staff girl discipled me until I graduated from college.
For me,
Yeah. That's
okay, yeah, I became a Christian when I was a student in college through campus outreach, and it was my first time to meet Christian and heard about the gospel. I grew up in the Buddhism family, and the thing that I like to do is just to be a good person, to be a good behavior for my parents, because I want to be a good kid. And I like to do a good deeds because Buddha teach that if you do a good thing, you will receive a good thing. So I did that all my whole life until I come to college. When I first met Christians, they are so loving and caring. But I just don't like when they share Jesus to me, share the gospel to me, because Jesus come to die for you because you're a sinner. I didn't think that I'm a sinner because I try so hard to do good, to be the good person.
Yes.
So I feel like I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to change anything because I believe that the Buddhism is the best religion in the world. I don't want to change. Jesus come to die for me is not make sense. I don't understand about that. But after we spend time together with CO people and Christians, some Christians friends, they kept follow me, loving me, and be very patient to keep relationship with me. On that time, I feel like I would like to hear why they are so patient, why they are so loving, why they care about other people. So when I was second years of my college, they invite me to go to evangelistic retreat with the CCP, and I say yes. On that time, they share about Jesus teach that loving enemies and love other people. You cannot think or imagine that how we can love our enemies.
Yeah.
It's very like different from other people teach, like we can love other people, like we can love who people we love or we are friends with, but we cannot love enemies. But Jesus teach different. Love your enemies and pray for them. This is kind of like I am more interested in Jesus. I want to know more about Jesus. I asked to go to the Thai Summer Project with them and told them that I want to know more about Jesus. I want to hear more. Can I go with you? And then say yes. And there's something that they share on the Thai Summer Project from the Bible. It's from the parable of Jesus about the Pharisee and the tax collector.
Right.
And yeah, Jesus said some people who trust in themselves, like Pharisee, who stand very close to the temple and pray. Thank God, I'm not like other people, like that man who are the tax collector, something like that. And for the tax collector, pray, mercy on me. I'm a sinner. I confess my sin to you. Please mercy me. On that time, Jesus said, I'm satisfied this man, not the Pharisee. And I feel like, why? Pharisee do a good thing. He give a tithe, like,
Yeah.
Yes.
he tried to do his best to do a good thing. And I feel like I'm like the Pharisee. But Jesus, he is a perfect man. He's not pleased the Pharisee, but he pleased for people who humble themselves,
Yes.
that they're sinner. They do sin and they need forgiveness. So on that time, Jesus opened my mind and my eyes to see that I'm a sinner as well. I try to do a good thing and I trust myself and do a good thing because I want to please myself. I want to please people. I'm kind of selfish and self-righteousness. So you cannot go to heaven by this, but by trusting in Jesus, because you cannot be perfect. So yeah, I confess my sin and receive Jesus to be my Savior. Praise God.
Man.
Praise God.
Thank you both for sharing your stories. And I know that you have children, and also you have served on staff for a long time in many different roles. So tell us about how long you've been married and your children, and then tell us how long you've been on staff and maybe the different roles, jobs that you've had on staff through the years and what you're doing now.
We have been married for 13 years. We have 2 kids, 12 and 10 now. I have been working with Campus Outreach for 16 years.
Wow.
My role is area director, coaching staff, coaching campus director, and training all staff that we have. And also I help the church to lead the leaders there and to lead a sermon team and preach at the church as well. And now I'm going to be a pastor at Covenant Church, which the campus outreach are planted.
Yes, great. And Bla, for you, just how
Yeah.
long? Even longer. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joined a staff team in 1998, and we moved to Khon Kaen. Originally, campus outreach was in Bangkok. We launched a new team to Khon Kaen, so I was part of that team. I served as a campus staff until 2007. Yeah, and then God just led me to start a Christian bookstore.
Yes.
So I did that for about 5 years, and within those years, we got married.
Yes.
And had babies, and so we just thought it might not be best for me, to keep the store. So we was kind of like joining the staff team, and
Right.
now I serve as a member care personnel. Member care, the Thai staff on our team in Khon Kaen and in Udon as well, like the staff team in Udon.
You both mentioned your story and then coming on staff. And many people listening to the podcast would say, oh, yes, that's a normal thing that happens. But not in Thailand. There's not a history. There's not a tradition. People don't understand that. Where they might, in another country, particularly here in the United States or in another country, they might say, oh, we understand you're going to serve with this ministry. I'm sure it was a very difficult decision to become a part of the staff team. I would imagine your friends, maybe even your family, were like, what are you doing? You're going to do this strange work. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like? How God encouraged you to become a staff member and maybe some of the challenge in that season.
Yeah, okay. So when Brian Furbo first challenged me to join a new team to a different area, like outside Bangkok, it was quite hard for me because my parents, they have a business, and then my major from college was going to be very supportive to what they were doing. Because they were thinking about, exporting, and my major would just be a great contribution in that business. And Chinese people, they are driven by success, by money, by financial security. So, and I also had the future I had planned for. I want to go study abroad. I wanted to follow my passions, my dreams. But I would say I got a chance to be exposed in the bigger ministry world. I got to come to America and I got to see the discipleship making, the same thing that we do in Thailand. And it just blew my mind away. I thought we did the ministry in a small little world in Thailand. But when I came here, it was more like a vision trip to me. And it was... Yeah, everybody around the world, they're doing the same thing. How could that be? So that was the first kick that God started to do in my heart, because He knew it was not easy for me. And while I was in the States, I got to meet with a campus staff girl, and I asked her, why did you come on staff? And she said, she used one word, which is invest, which my major was economics. So that word just clicked, she said she wanted to invest her life into something that is eternal. And I could not get that word out of my head. I just kept thinking about that, invest, and what do I want to invest my life into? And I could not, all the answers that I could find were money, fame, comfort, So coming back, when I had to tell my parents that this is, I feel like what God has for me, I thought it was going to be like a fall apart kind of thing, in my family. Mm-hmm. But miraculously, at that point, this is another miracle in my life. Mm-hmm. Back then, in like 20 something years ago, in that very year, the world economics was just collapsed. Mm-hmm. So none of my friends who in my major could find any job, could get a job. So when I first got an offer from Campus Outreach, my parents, they were like, okay, good. But they didn't think that I would be doing this job for a long time. They were like, okay, just go for a few years and come back and work in the business with us. Yeah. But, I just kept on going. And on the way, they would send my grandmother, they would send my aunts, they would send anyone who I love and respect to come talk me out of the staff job,
Wow.
But the Lord, He's faithful. He sustained me through all the journey. So hard, but it's bearable. I feel like He gave me strength along the way. Yeah, here we are.
I'd like to add a little bit there. What, Bla, would you say to staff in other places who maybe are experiencing that type of challenge? As you now look back on more than 20 years, what have you learned, or what would you say to perhaps a new staff person who is being criticized or family is giving them difficulty? Is there anything that you'd say to encourage them?
I would want to encourage them that, they, like my family, my friends, there is no way they would understand why we do what we do. But if you keep pressing on, I believe that by doing what God has called you, this could even be a testimony to them.
Wow.
To see why your heart is all about this. Why do you stand for it? Why do you stand for your belief? Why do you stand for your faith? Like, I remember someone who I love very much asked me, why don't you just give the money to the ministry? Why do you have to dedicate your life and your time, in doing this thing? And I remember I said, well, anybody can give the money, but time is the most worthiest thing, has the most value.
Yes.
And I remember that person I felt like he understood what the message that I was trying to tell him,
Yes.
And it takes time, for my family to understand, and for my friends, just from the beginning, I was like, they don't know they're not believers, so they can't see the value or the worth of what we're doing. But in the end, I believe they will see, and they might come to Christ because of what we are standing for. And believe God is faithful, and from all these years, I can testify that He is faithful, and He has helped me through all the difficulties with my family and with my friends.
That's so great. Thank you, Bla. And Nai, I know your story was a bit different because you were studying to be a teacher, and then you began to teach. But after some period of time, you decided to then become a part of the staff team. What caused you to want to make that change from being a teacher to being on staff with Campus Outreach?
I would say during I work as a teacher, I saw that our community, like Thai community around us, is so broken. And I feel like everyone needs to know Jesus to change their life, as He has done in my life. And I recognize that from the staff, they share about something in the Matthew 9:37. Jesus saw the crowds. He had compassion for them. Then He said to disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And I would like to be a laborer. I would like to be that person to make this happen. I was thinking that I need to be trained. And I knew that CO staff can help me to be a laborer. So I pray and ask them that I want to come on staff. I want to make disciples. I need to be trained to be a laborer and do that.
That is so great. Well, you all are serving in Khon Kaen in the Isan province, which is one of the most unreached areas of the world. And so it's just amazing what God has been doing there now for many years. But then it seems like even in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, it's just been even a special work of the Lord there in Khon Kaen. So could you tell us about what God has been doing there? Certainly over the last few years, you can start back as far as you want to, but tell us about what God is doing in Khon Kaen.
We have seen God multiplication in our ministry, both on campus and church. So yeah, we are excited to send the indigenous team to another region. And also in the next 5 years, we would like to plant a church in another city as well. So I have been encouraged by God's doing in the staff, church staff, and campus outreach staff, multiplying their life. So this is kind of like the big change in the last few years. We have seen many men come to Christ through His people and be trained, be established, be equipped to be a leaders. So we hope that in the future, we can expand the kingdom, the gospel in Thailand and also in Southeast Asia.
So great.
Amen.
And also a part of that has been what God is doing in the Covenant Church. And so tell us a bit about what is happening there in that.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. It's very unique, like started from campus outreach ministry. It used to be only students, like 90% of the church members. But now it's different. It's like students would be 30%, and we have older people.
Mm-hmm.
We have like maybe 15 older people who have come to our church faithfully, and they are actively sharing their faith. And we have couples who, a lot of them, have come to faith through campus outreach, and then they stay and they got married, they have children, and then they stay at our church. And they still have the making discipleship DNA in them. And some of them, they're new to making disciples. They don't know how to make disciples. It's just so encouraging to see how, they ask us to teach them to make disciples. So we do that. And we get to see church member, like there is this man who, he was a student at KKU. And Nai shared the gospel with him and his friends. One of them came to Christ, but he shared no interest. He was like, no. Until a few years after he graduated and everything, one day he texts Nai asking, hey, I have been reading the Bible that you gave me.
Wow.
And now what do I have to do to be a Christian? So we were away. We were not in Khon Kaen. So when we came back, Nai met with him. And at that point, God was really working in his heart. He prayed to receive Christ. He was about to get married. Yeah. And after he got married, he read the Bible to his wife every night. A few months after, his wife came to Christ. And it's just to see, another couple disciple them at the moment. And it's just so encouraging to see the same movement, happening in our church, our church members.
Very good.
Yeah, very encouraging.
What you're just saying there is such a wonderful lesson of seeing a movement on the campus and then a movement in the church. Many people say, oh, the campus is over here and far away is the church. And you're saying, no, they're connected. How has God developed that vision in your hearts for the church and for there to be a movement on the campus in the church?
The vision for the church and for campus, it is the same, making disciples and send laborers for this lost world. And the church can be very impact to the campus ministry because I have seen that when the student came to our house, they have seen our life. We have seen what we are raising the kids and loving each other. is different from their family. It's different from their parent raising them, because they have seen what a Christian show love to each other and forgiveness, and raising a child very, I don't know how to say, like very good to
Yes.
see for them.
Yes.
Yeah, loving, because they don't see this often in the Thai culture or Thai family. So they can see that, if they can see God's love in us, and it's very impact to the students to see Christian family. And this is kind of like one thing that is a big impact to the student from the church, because like we have seen the multiplication happen in a campus ministry, and we would like to see more in our church, because we start with the campus ministry, and now we have a church, and I will be going to be a part of our church leaders and lead the church next year. We would like to see the multiplication at our church as well. So the same vision, the same God's commission, like Jesus say, go and making disciple. So this is gonna be very encouraging if we could be a part of that. Yeah,
That's right. I wish that in that relationship and partnership between the church, that every church member would be praying for and desiring a movement on the campus. And every person on the campus would be praying for and hoping for that movement in the church. That's when we would see God work in some amazing ways. And I think that's what you guys are modeling for us. And it's so great to hear you talk about it. So thank you.
This has been just part 1 of our conversation. Stay tuned and catch part 2 in the next week. Make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting service to get each new upcoming episode. The Campus Outreach Staffcast is a production of Campus Outreach Serve. The vision of Campus Outreach is to glorify God by building laborers on the campus for the lost world. To learn more, visit www.campusoutreach.org.